We're going to be looking at some exercises from the Pratico and Van Pelt Basics of Biblical Hebrew Workbook. It's the third edition, and here's the bibliography for it. So we'll be taking a look at chapter 3 of the workbook, Shalosh, which is 3. So we're mainly looking at Dagesh forte versus Dagesh lene, and shewa silent versus vocal. And then we'll be doing some syllabification, meaning dividing up into syllables. So to look at the words better, I'm going to enlarge it. All right, so now we got the words a little bit bigger. And again, we're in chapter 3, first part. So we'll take a look at the first word. I'll go through every other word, but if I see an interesting one, I'll jump to it anyway. That's not in every other. So our second word is isha, that is woman. And we're looking at the Dagesh here. That's going to be a Dagesh forte because it's not a Bagad Kafat letter, and it's coming after a vowel. So both of those tell us that. And there are no shewas, so we don't need to worry about that. So let's take a look at number 4. And number 4, we have a Dagesh here, but it's coming after a vowel. And so it's a Dagesh forte. And even though it's a Bagad Kafat letter, which is one of the conditions for a Dagesh lene, but it's coming after a vowel, so it has to be a Dagesh forte. And that means that this shewa has to be a vocal shewa. A shewa under a Dagesh forte will always be a vocal shewa. And so now we're looking at a new syllable. So we have this shewa, which is a vocal shewa, beginning a new syllable. So other than that, I think that's it for that one. Let's take a look at number 6. Chukah. Oh, I haven't been pronouncing these. So Isha, I did pronounce. This one is ha-behema, ha-behema. And then number 6, chukah, chukah. This is a shurek. It's a short U. And we see a Dagesh here. The Dagesh is not in a Bagad Kafat letter. This is a kof. So we know already that it's a Dagesh forte. We also see that it comes after a vowel. Okay, let's look at number 8. Here we have Malka, Malka, queen. So we see our Dagesh and we see a shewa. So we have both here. It's a short vowel and there's nothing else going on. There's no Dagesh in this word. So short vowel, this is a silent shewa. And the silent shewa then comes before a Bagad Kafat letter that has a Dagesh. So this means this is a Dagesh lene. So it's Malka. This is a very common type of word. Actually, we see the same kind of word here with 2 syllables, and the first syllable has a short vowel. And when you see a Bagad Kafat letter in that first letter in the second syllable, it will have a Dagesh lene. So Malka, I won't look at number 9, but you can already tell that's a Dagesh lene. Number 10 is Ata, and so this is a Bagad Kafat letter, the tau, but it comes after a vowel. So this is a Dagesh forte. Okay, we'll come down to number 12. Here's an interesting one. So we have Uriah, Uriah. This is the name Uriah. This dot here is part of the vowel. There is no other vowel for the aleph, and so this is a shurek, a vowel letter. And then we see this Dagesh here in the yod, but it's coming after, well, first of all, it's not a Bagad Kafat letter. And so it's got to be a Dagesh forte. It's also coming after a vowel. So Uriah, we'll take a look at number 14, we've got katanim. Katanim mean little ones or small ones or young ones. And we see this shewa at the beginning. That will be a vocal shewa. At the beginning of a word, a shewa will always be a vocal shewa because a silent shewa ends a syllable. And at the beginning of a word, you can't be ending a syllable. So this is clearly a vocal shewa. All right, now we come down here and we're asked to syllabify the following Hebrew words. So it gives you an example here of putting lines between the syllables. So Avraham, that's Abraham. So let's come to number 2, and we have Geveret. Geveret. Now, here we have a bait, but there's no Dagesh Laney in it, or Dagesh of any kind, Dagesh forte or Dagesh Laney. So it's going to have that V as in Victor pronunciation. So it's Geveret. Notice the accent here. So I've got an accent here over that second to last syllable. And so that makes it Geveret and not Giveret. So Geveret, that's a very common type of word there called a segalet. All right, so if we want to divide this, let's get a pen here. And so we have a consonant, gimel, and a vowel at vocal shewa. And then the next letter is a bait, but it's also got a vowel. So it can't close a syllable because it's also got a vowel. Any letter that closes a syllable will not have a vowel. Our next word, Geveret, begins with a gimel with a Dagesh Laney, and it's got a shewa, and then we have this bait, but it's got its own segol, so it's got to begin a new syllable. So we'll divide here, and then we have resh, and it's got its own vowel. So again, we'll divide here, and then we have the tau at the end, and that's the close of a syllable. So we have here an open syllable, and a closed syllable. It's not asking us to label those, but I'm just going to do that. So consonant, vowel, open, consonant, vowel, open, consonant, vowel, consonant, closed. All right. So here we have a word with a Dagesh forte in it. So this is going to be a little bit tricky because the Dagesh forte, essentially, we've got a chet, we've got the kof with a Dagesh forte. This is equivalent to this. The Dagesh forte is a doubling. Now you don't need to write this out. I'm going to put a star here to indicate that you would never see this in real life. Okay, but you've got the vowel. This is a shurek. And then this is the equivalent of having a silent shewa here to close a syllable. And then this comets, which you see over here, is the vowel of this next syllable. So it would look like this, huk ka. That's how you would divide that if you wrote it out completely. Now nobody would ever do that, but that's how it would be written out. So one way to do this is to write that word. So hu ka, we've got that shurek, we've got the comets, and we've got the Dagesh forte. And we can divide by bringing our line down, wrapping it around, and then coming down like that. So it's huk, or huk, it's got that ch sound, huk ka. So one way we can divide is just by doing a little wrap around here, like that. That's one way that you can indicate that the Dagesh forte is there. It's not necessary that you do that. You could simply divide like this between the letters, but you're not going to get the idea then that the Dagesh forte is there. So And I guess I was going to do every other one. There was a 3. Let's do number 6 here. I was trying to do the evens, even though I lost track there for a second. So we have milchama, milchama, which is the word for battle. And we have a short vowel. So this is going to be a silent shewa. So let's write that out. We have mem, lamed, chet, mem, and het, or hey, sorry, hey. So, and actually, some people complain if you attach the bottom of that mem, so I'll rewrite that mem and won't attach it. There we go. So milchama, we have a hirik there, and we have a shewa. So that's coming after a short vowel. So we're going to say this is a silent shewa. So we're going to split after that consonant. So if we have a silent shewa, we always split after that consonant because that's a syllable divider. So by definition, it's ending a syllable. So we're going to split after the syllable divider. And then we have cha and then ma. Milchama. So this is a closed syllable. It's consonant, vowel, consonant. This is an open syllable. This is considered an open syllable. The hey there is acting as a vowel. It's this kametz hey. And so it's put there to indicate that we've got a feminine noun. So we're treating this as an open, even though there's a consonant here, we're going to treat this like an open syllable because this hey is acting like a vowel. So milchama. So closed, open, open. All right, we'll come down to number 8. Now we're going to see Uriah again here. So Uriah, Uriah. And so at the beginning here we have an aleph and a shurek, and that's going to be a syllable. So the resh comes along after that, but it's got its own vowel. So when it's got its own vowel, it's beginning a new syllable. So we'll leave that there, and then we've got the yod with a Dagesh forte. It's got to be a Dagesh forte, and it's got its own vowel. It's got a comets, and then we've got this final hey. Okay. So uriya. So the first syllable is going to divide here because it's going to come before the resh that's got its own vowel. Notice here that we've got a Dagesh forte. So this is going to be one of those cases where we come down, we wrap around the Dagesh forte, and then we come down like that. Actually, let me try a different color here just to make this a little bit simpler to see. All right, so we're going to divide here, then we're going to wrap around that Dagesh forte and come like that. So uriya, and then ya, and that ya is going to be our last syllable. Okay, so we're going to have open. Actually, this is going to be a closed syllable because that Dagesh forte closes the syllable. So this is actually a closed syllable, even though it's not obvious. Remember when we saw before, this is the equivalent of the resh, the yod, and the hey. The yod with a silent shewa, and the second yod with the comets. So ya. That's what the Dagesh forte. I'm going to put a star here to indicate that we'll never see this in real life, but that's why I'm calling this a closed syllable, because it's actually this Dagesh forte, which I'm representing here with 2 letters, closes a syllable. All right, so enough of that. And then the final syllable is an open syllable. All right, we'll come down to number 10, and that is anachnu, anachnu, and that means we. So we have one shewa in here, anachnu, and so we'll write that out. We've got an aleph. This has got a compound shewa. It's a half vowel, but it is a hatef patak. It's a half patak. So it is a shewa, but it's called a compound shewa. And then we have anachnu. And we had a shurik at the end. All right, so, and we have an accent here over the second syllable. So we have anachnu, and we have a shewa here. Notice that it comes after a patak, which is a short vowel, a short A vowel. So this is going to be a silent shewa. So we're going to divide. All right, let me change my color. We're going to divide here, then nach, and that's a syllable divider, silent shewa. By definition, we divide after it, and then we have nu, and this is just consonant vowel. So we have an open syllable, a closed syllable, nach, and then an open syllable, nu. This means we, by the way. So anachnu. Okay, let's come down to number 12 here. Torot. Torot, laws. All right, so this is a plural, and it's plural of Torah, which is law. And so there are no, well, there's a Dagesh in the first letter. So we have to, holam vav, ro, another holam vav. I didn't write those quite the same, but there we go. And then a tau at the end, torot. So we have a tau at the beginning, and it's got a Dagesh. It's got to be a Dagesh lene. Dagesh lene at the beginning of a word. You'll never see a Dagesh forte at the beginning of a word, and it's a Bagad Kafat letter. Then we have this, it's vowel, so it has no other vowel. So we know that this is the vowel, and it's that vowel letter, holam vav, or holam wow, depending on how you pronounce it, a toe, and so we will divide right there because the resh has its own vowel, and so when the resh has its own vowel, we divide before it, so toe, and then wrote. So that's, wrote is a second syllable, so we have an open syllable here, consonant vowel, and then a closed syllable, consonant vowel consonant. Again, this is another holam vav. That's a closed syllable. All right, we'll come down to number 14 here, which is Lila. So we have Lila, Lila. Notice the accent on the first syllable here. So we're going to look at this Lamed, Yod, Lamed, Hey. So Lai, La. We have the accent here. We have a short vowel here, so we're going to be looking at a silent shewa. So we will divide after the syllable divider. By definition, it's a syllable divider, so we divide after it. So we have lai, la, and so we're going to have a closed and an open. You're not asked to do closed and open, but it's helpful to review these. Okay, number 16 is Mitzrayim. Mitzrayim. And notice the accent here in the second to last syllable, the pretonic syllable. And so we have mitz, that's our first syllable there. It's got a silent shewa because it's coming after a short vowel. And then we have the accent there, ra. It's our patach, and then our yod, and it's got a vowel, and then a final meme, which usually I just draw like a square, mitzrayim. And so since this is a silent shewa, oh, I guess I did it backwards, so that I'm now going to do my divisions with blue. I wrote my word with orange. I'm going to do my divisions with blue. So since that's a silent shewa, we'll divide after it. So mitz, and then ra. Now notice the yod has its own vowel. So we'll divide before it, mitzrayim. And so, which is Egypt. And so we have a closed syllable, an open syllable, and a closed syllable. Let's look at number 18. Oh, this is interesting. So we have mimalaot. Mimalaot. This is an interesting one. I think this is a participle of the verb from to fill, Malay. Let's see, so an aleph, and then we've got an ot ending, which typically is a feminine ending. So we have a vocal shewa. Beginning of a word, it's always a vocal shewa if we see a shewa. Mima. Now notice there's a Dagesh forte here. I'm calling it a Dagesh forte because it's coming after a vowel and it's not in a Bagad Kafat letter. So that undoes the short vowel rule. The short vowel rule goes away. So this is a vocal shewa. So it's mima le ot. So how do we divide this? This is interesting. So we've got the meme and the shewa. The second consonant has its own vowel, so we'll divide before it. Our second syllable here, ma, notice there's a Dagesh forte in the third letter, this lamed, so it is not a Bagad Kafat letter, so it's a Dagesh forte. So our syllable is going to have this, we can do it with this wraparound, like that. So mimma, and then our third syllable is l, it's the lamed and the vocal shewa. So under a Dagesh forte, a shewa will always be vocal. So we have a split here, the l, and then we have ot. That final syllable is ot. So aleph, and then the vowel is the holam vav, and then the tau. So we have an open syllable, and then with the Dagesh forte at the closing of this, the Dagesh forte always closes the syllable. So this will be a closed syllable before it, and then the l, it's an open syllable, just the vocal shewa, and then this final syllable is a closed syllable. It closes on that tau. Let's take a look at number 20. And so we have here watishalach, watishalach. That is a verb. It's an imperfect verb. It's actually a wow consecutive is the technical name for that. It's used a lot for past tense, and this would be and you sent or and she sent. All right, so we have, so I'll put all this in a patach there and a patach there. And we have a Dagesh forte. No, it's a Dagesh forte because it's not in a Bagad Kafat letter. So we have watishalach, and this is a Dagesh forte in this tau, even though it's a Bagad Kafat letter. We know it's a Dagesh forte because it has a vowel before it. So we can split it using our wraparound technique. So that's wat, and then we have the tau and a vocal shewa. Under a Dagesh forte, you always have a vocal shewa. So we'll split that there, and then sha, and again another Dagesh forte. So we'll do our wrap around again, shall, and then lach is that final syllable. So we have close because it's being closed by the Dagesh forte, and then open the t, shall, that's going to be closed because of the Dagesh forte, and then that final syllable is a closed syllable, tishalach. Let's look at number 22. We have miragale. So mem, resh, gimel, and lamed. And so we have this vocal shewa. It's kind of a strange name, but anyway. Ra, a dagesh, we'll have to figure out what that is, and then gale. I think you have that sere, that long E. So mira gale. And here we have a gimel, but it's coming after a vowel. It's a bagad kafat letter, but it's coming after a vowel. So this is a dagesh forte. So let's take a look and see what we've got there. So we have me. This is beginning of a word. It will always be a vocal shewa because a silent shewa closes a syllable, as I said before. You'll never see it at the beginning of a word. So we have dividing there, me, rag, we have a dagesh forte, so we'll divide around that, me, rag, and then gale. So open, dagesh forte closes that syllable, and then final syllable, gale, is closed. All right, I think we have one more here. Number 24, we have ne'emnu. Ne'emnu. So it starts out with a noon and an aleph and a mem, then a second noon, and the shurik is the ending of this. Is actually a nafal verb, which don't need to worry about right now. And when we have a segol, shewa, we'll have to figure out what kind of shewa that is, and then this shurik is our final vowel. Splitting this up, then we have the segol, the second letter, aleph has its own vowel, so we divide before it. And then we have ne'em. The shewa is coming after a short vowel. This is a segol is a short e vowel. So this is a silent shewa. It's a syllable divider, so we divide after it. We always divide after a syllable divider. And then nu, our ending. So we have an open syllable, a closed syllable, and then an open syllable. It's consonant vowel. So these are the workbook exercises from Chapter 3 of Pratico Van Pelt.